Let's do another one here. Midnight Rider wants to know which wrestler has the most heat with you, meaning who will never come off of your shit list for the rest of your life.
I certainly wouldn't say it because I'm not going to give him any press. But it's funny because I've learned a lot from Vince, and Vince would always, success is the best revenge, and Vince would, you choose the time to pick a fight is the time of your choosing, not theirs. Sometimes it's not on your terms, but most of the time, but when you can make it on your terms, you do. So there are some guys out there I still, have a little animosity toward. And, the Christian thing is to forgive them. I'm not going to be very Christian about it. There's going to be a time where I'm going to have a chance. And when I do, I'm going to cash some receipts.
Whose shit list are you on? Is there someone out there who
good question.
Your ass.
Good question.
I mean, Russo sounds like Russo.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm on Russo's list.
Who's your Mount Rushmore of shit list? I want you to be thinking about who else hates you besides the people who do our research, because I know you passed.
That's right. That's
a great inside joke that we haven't shared enough with our audience.
That's right.
We have a couple of guys who help us put together notes and research, and they just scour the internet. It's usually newsletters. And I think everyone listening to this knows John was never a favorite with the Torch or the Observer.
Nope.
And so as they're compiling it, the people who put together our formats for us, sometimes they just lean into the Dave Meltzer and Wade Keller narrative. So when John gets to prep for our show, where he's standing in as a favor to his friend Bruce, he gets to read, about 37 pages of how big of a piece of shit he was. What a terrible person. What a terrible wrestler. What a terrible human being. And he does it here with a smile. I mean, John, you're a heck of a guy.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I get, anytime I start feeling like I'm a decent human being, I just read the research that you guys send me, and I realize that I'm the worst person since Judas Iscariot and Pol Pot.
John, what say you? Who else besides Vince Russo has you on their shit list?
Wow, that would be good. That'd be very interesting to know. I'll tell you a guy who had me on a shit list for a while, but doesn't anymore, is Freddy Prince. And we're good friends now. It was a misunderstanding. When Freddy first came in, I'm a big fan of Scooby-Doo, and I called him Scooby-Doo every time he came in, but I called him Scooby-Doo as a term of endearment. He later said, that guy wouldn't even give me the respect of my name. He thought I was just messing with him, So, and Freddy, it's a great story. I get in the ring one time, and Freddy's back by Vince, and they gave me a promo, and I did something completely different. Something Freddy and I talked about, but I kind of went on my own. Anyway, Vince got so mad, he threw Freddy out of Gorilla. Well, Freddy did not throw me on the bus. He didn't tell Vince that I went on my own, went rogue and did it. So when I come back, I went straight to Vince, and I said, "Hey, Vince, listen, that was on me. I didn't know what happened with Freddy. I didn't know Freddy had been thrown out of Gorilla." And so I went back and I said, "Hey, Vince, that was on me. I'm the one that changed it. That wasn't from anybody else. I thought my idea was better. It wasn't." And I said, "I just want to let you know I'm sorry because it didn't work." And Vince looked at me and goes, "I wrote that." I said, "I didn't know that." I said, "But I'm the one that changed it. And then I was doing it because I thought it was right, and it wasn't. Just want to tell you I'm sorry." And Vince goes, "Thank you." And anyway, I left. Then he says, "Hey, you can tell Freddy to come back now." So he can let Freddy back in Gorilla. We found out later that both of us had refused to stooge the other one, so we both became friends after that. So no more heat any longer with me and Freddy. But the Scooby-Doo thing was not being mean. That was something because I loved the movie he was in, but he took it the wrong way.
Got to do another question here. This is a good one from Common Sense. He wants to know, if Simmons didn't exist, who would you have picked for a legendary run as a tag team? So in this alternate universe, there was no Ron Simmons, but you're still going to do the Acolytes and the APA and have a great tag run. Who would you put in the Ron Simmons spot if he didn't exist?
Godfather.
Okay.
No doubt about it. The man can work. That man is smart. He's got great charisma. There's no doubt about it. Godfather. I mean, I really liked everything about him. Big, tough guy, terrific look. I think Godfather, he can do anything. Obviously, you look at his Instagram. I'm on Instagram just to follow him, me and Ron both, just to see what he's doing all over the world. He's an entertaining guy and a good guy. Godfather be the guy.
Here's one from King Julian, who wants to know who was responsible for all that pyro when you returned to Raw. I mean, that was kind of funny. I mean, it was like a year's worth of pyro in a single segment. Is that Vince ribbing you, Kevin Dunn, someone else?
No, it was Vince, 100%. Vince thought it was great. He did something similar, I believe, with Jericho, I think a few years later. That was Vince's idea, 100%. He thought that was awesome. And I thought it was too. I thought it worked.
We got a question here from Quarter Ton who says, what are some reasons, in your opinion, that mass superstars struggle with getting over? Across all the major promotions, there's only a handful of mass superstars that are presented at a high level. Why do you think that is? Of course, John, Eric Bischoff would say that, well, they're covering your face up. They're losing some of the expression. You can't sell. Bruce Prichard or others might say, you got to talk them into the seats. And if they are a bilingual superstar, but they're not confident in their English, it might not feel authentic. And American wrestling really requires strong promos. Where do you land on that? What do you think the answer is?
I think the answer is there's only a few Rey Mysterios. And to me, I mean, Rey Mysterio is the best mass wrestler, in my opinion, of all time. He's one of the best wrestlers of all time, but very few guys can get empathy like Rey does with a mask on that covers up most of their face. And, the thing about it is it's hard to draw money. And so when you're talking about guys who can draw money, that's a small group anyway. And I think people are sometimes conflating that with, okay, there's all these luchadors and there's only so many that can draw money. Yeah, right. There's only so many that can draw money of anything. And I think Rey Mysterio is an anomaly in life. Yeah, he's that good. And a lot of these guys, and a lot of that also is true. You look at anything that's trying to get over with the audience. I don't care where you are. If you don't speak the language of your audience, whether you're overseas trying to do that or whether you're here trying to do that in English and you don't speak English well, it's tough to get over. So it's always going to be a problem of guys who don't speak the language. Sometimes you can get a manager that might suffice. That's very rare too. But I think it's all the above. But I think it's hard to get over with a mask. Vince was never big fans of masked wrestlers until Rey Mysterio. And I still don't think he's a fan of masked wrestlers. I think he's a fan of Rey Mysterio because Rey Mysterio was just different from everybody else.
Poppy Chulo wants to know, what was your favorite match? Like the match you were in. And then is there a favorite match that doesn't include you? And if you ever lapsed in your fandom, was there a match that made you a fan again?
Yeah, my favorite match, I think, would have to be that first match with Rey that was so bloody, and because I knew that was a one-off if that didn't work. And
Eddie, you mean Eddie? I'm
sorry, with Eddie. I apologize. Yeah, with Eddie. And if that match didn't work, it'd been a one-off. And so I think that by how much historical value that had for me, that had to be one of my favorite matches. Favorite match I've seen, not obviously, you don't know that, would be Shawn and Taker. The first one, I think WrestleMania 25 in Houston. When I watched that, I thought at the time that's the best match I've ever seen. And a match that made me fall in love with the wrestling business again was Cena versus Umaga. And I wasn't calling the match. I was just on commentary, so I had my headphones off, and I'm sitting there inside the bowl watching this match. And I just remember thinking, this is why people love the business. I remember specifically thinking that this is why people love the business. It was that good.